Okay, this is a 2002 Jeep Wrangler. It's the sport model. It's got 4.0 six-cylinder, straight six-cylinder in it. It's an automatic. So I am not a mechanic. So this video is for those of you like me who are not mechanics, but yet can do pretty okay with following directions and things like that. So I'm just gonna, share these kinds of series or these kinds of videos with you as I go along. I've already done a bunch of things on this Jeep that I probably should have recorded that were actually pretty easy. Changed the alternator, an O2 sensor, even some evac hoses, and honestly they were really, really easy. And the way I do my mechanics is basically with YouTube and the local parts store. And I go to O'Reilly. I have some family who are mechanics, so occasionally I'll call them if something gets too crazy, but this isn't stuff that's too crazy. So in this one, I'm going to change the thermostat. It was thrown a code that said the engine temperature was too low, that the thermostat was inactive. And it was true. I watched the temperature gauge, and it never even got up to the middle. That normal operating temperature on a temperature gauge was way down here. So I think the thermostat's just probably stuck open. So yeah, so we're going to go and change it. And from what I have learned, it's right there behind this thing here. So you got the radiator, and this hose leads right into it. This kind of, I don't know what it is. There's another hose that comes off of it. So I think it's right behind there. So yeah, shouldn't be too bad. Okay, so first things first, you had to drain the coolant, which I did down here. Just into some old milk jugs. There is, hang on, let me get you can kind of see it dripping right there. So this is the bottom of the radiator, right along here. Let me get a better light for you. So you can see, this was easy. I've never done this job before, so we're doing this together. Drained out the coolant, and lucky enough, there was this little drain spout right there. There's I don't know if you can see it from this side. There's just a little knob you turn there that tightens it or loosens it. So I just opened it up, drained it out. I got about 1.5 gallons out. It was a little low, like the reservoir was low, so I didn't want to top it off because I knew I'd be doing this job. So I'm just letting that drip. I did open up the radiator cap at the top, just so I could make sure that it's, so it's not got a vacuum there, so it'll seep out. I opened up the overflow valve there too, so it could drop out. So I think I'm ready to dive into it. So I think first things first, is got to get these two hoses off. This one and this one. Well, okay, I guess first we probably want to take that little electric connector off there, and then we'll get those two hoses off. And I think to do that, I just grabbed a better idea right in there. So I just grabbed a pair of these channel locks. Can get them open nice and wide, so we can get those hose clamps off. And pretty sure there's 2 bolts, and I'm pretty sure they're 13mm bolts. Right? Yep. Right there is one, and I think the other one's kind of underneath of it, kind of down. It's hard to, you won't be able to see it, but it's underneath of there. So yeah, I'll get that off, and so let's pull this puppy off here. I don't know if there's a catch or anything on it, maybe. Well, it looks like maybe there's a catch or something, or a latch. So, okay, I'll get that off. Okay, I got it off. What I had to do was actually take a small, just a flathead screwdriver, because it is kind of locked down there. You won't be able to probably see it, but there is a little spot where it kind of catches right there. You can kind of see it on the bottom of that connector, and it goes through that. So I just took my screwdriver and kind of stuck it down the back side of that and pried at this, and then pulled with my other hand at the same time. It came right off. So next step is these hose clamps. We're just gonna take our pliers, squeeze them together, and kind of stuck on the rubber a little bit, so maybe give it a little wiggle, get it loose, and then just as you pinch it, you can just slide it up that hose once you get it off, and I'll do the same thing with that one. Back in a minute. So as you can see, I got those hose clamps off and moved up. So this one was down there, and this one was down here. So now we just got to get these hoses off this thing here. We might have to try to pry them loose. I mean, obviously you don't want to use really something sharp on that, because I don't want to crack or break these hoses in any way. So let me just try to twist them the best I can with my hands, kind of break it loose, and just pull them back out of the way. Hopefully there's not any coolant in them, because I've been draining it down there. So, all right, I'm gonna give that a shot. I think that's a two-hand job. So getting these hoses off is proving to be more of a pain in the butt than I thought. So this little one seems to be moving a little bit better once I got the hose off, but the big one, I could not get it loose for anything. So I ended up taking the whole hose off. I took it off right here too. So, you know, it's kind of connected like that right onto the radiator. So I just took that hose clamp off, or slid it up, slid that one up. And then that allowed me to kind of really start working on it. I didn't want to bend it too much because I'm afraid I might crack it or break it or something. I really don't want to do that. But just a little bit of kind of back and forth and putting some twist on this, I think helped. I did take more of a blunt end screwdriver and kind of just pried underneath the lip, but maybe just a little bit under here to try to get it to break free. But I couldn't really do that too well because there's just so much going on down in there. There's not enough room to get a screwdriver down in there to kind of poke up at it, and I was just worried I might break it. But anyway, so once I got it off of there, off of the radiator, then that helped. So I think now I should have a little better chance at getting this small hose off. These definitely don't help. They're in the way. But we don't want to mess with that, because I'm pretty sure that's air conditioning. So we don't want to mess with that. So I'm going to keep working at this little one. Okay, I got it. Got the little one off. So it's a little dirty or goopy around there. So I might clean that off when I get the thing off. I did use this little tool that I have in my toolbox. It's a little pick thing just to kind of get underneath of the very end and slide it around. And I felt the seal release over here because I could feel that it was just stuck on there, and that kind of popped loose. That helped. I don't know if anybody else, if everybody has one of these things. I got it in a toolbox that I inherited. But man, it was really handy. I think you could do just a little small flathead screwdriver up there too. There's enough room you could get there. But anyway, after wiggling and prying and wiggling and prying, I got it off. So next step then is to get these bolts. That one, and there's a mosquito flying around. It's only the middle of March and there's already a mosquito. And that one down there. I don't know if you can, it's a little bright. Sorry. Yep, that one. Anyway, the one of my lights pointing out that you can't see. So that's it. That whole thing will come off. And the thermostat is on the inside of that. Thermostat and the bracket. Okay, so I've got this on that little bolt down in there. Definitely need a longer, so I've got a longer socket on that one. So this will work just fine for that one. The problem is this one up here, you're gonna need something shorter because I have this long and you can't run it into the shroud thing, I think here it's called. So either a wrench or just a shorter 13mm socket. So, all right, we'll get that. Okay, so yeah, shorter one for that bolt right there. I just realized I was filming this whole video vertical on my phone, and I'm sorry. That's not the most pleasing way to watch a video. Maybe it's more comfortable to record a video. I'm just using my iPhone here. So I'm sorry about that. I'll try to remember to do this horizontally now. So yeah, anyway, second bolt here. And both of these were actually not bad. Like, they weren't super hard. You know, some of these things are so hard. I'll try to see if I can find the torque specs when I put these back on. The internet's amazing, guys. Anytime you're putting a bolt back on a car, this is what I've learned. Again, I'm not a mechanic. Find the torque specs if you can. I found all the torque specs for pretty much every bolt for this Jeep on a forum somewhere. If I can find the link, I'll post it. But man, that's really helpful. Get yourself a torque wrench and torque things correctly, because you don't want to under torque. You don't want things to be too loose, and you definitely don't want them to be too tight either. You know, I didn't realize this, but some of these bolts in here that are under a lot of stress, if you over tighten them, you can actually stretch out the bolt, and that will actually cause the bolt to come loose. So you don't want to over tighten too. So anyway, yeah, get yourself a torque wrench. Bottom bolt is out. That bottom bolt, it actually kind of, like, it sits right on the serpentine belt right here when you're trying to get it out. Sorry, it won't focus there. But so yeah, having a longer socket definitely helps. So bottom bolt. So one of the things about me not being a mechanic means I kind of freak out about bolts and things like that. I don't know. There's specific kinds that go in specific places. I don't know. So basically, if I'm going to take something out, I'm going to put it right back in the exact same place, which I think is pretty smart. Pretty sure everybody does that. But I kind of freak out a bit about it. So if I take something out, I want to make sure that it goes in the same place. So I'll try to maybe lay it out on the ground or something in the same order I took something out, or something like that. So in this case, bottom bolt and top bolt. Yeah, I don't think we'll have any troubles. Okay, so now this thing right here should just come right off. And there it is. And yeah, yikes, that's yucky. So there's actually a gasket on this thing. And you can see it's not all in one piece anymore. Like, there's some of it right there, and it's obviously still some down there. Around, that's the thermostat right there, that thing right there. And there's still some of the gasket around there. So that all has to come off. This has to be nice and clean. And so does that. So we're gonna take that puppy out and clean these things off somehow, and then put the new one and the new gasket in. So yeah, wish me luck. Okay, so before I actually get to cleaning all of that, I wanted to show you. So, you know, I keep saying that so much of my mechanic knowledge comes from the auto parts store. They're awesome. Like, there's an O'Reilly really close to my home, so I buy most of my stuff there, and they've honestly been great. So I bought the new thermostat and the gasket. So a nice new clean gasket. And as I was checking out, you know, they always try to ask you, do you need this, do you need that? And sometimes I feel like some of that stuff might be upselling, you know, where they're trying to get you to buy something extra. But honestly, the guys I work with here, they know me well enough, because I'm just in there all the time getting new things and trying this and trying that and borrowing tools and things. I feel like they're pretty honest. And so this guy, he says, hey, do you need the gasket stuff? Water pump, thermostat, housing, gasket maker. And I was like, well, I don't know, you tell me, do I need that? And he said, yeah, you just take this and you smear some of it onto that. I was like, okay, just put it on both sides. And he said, yep. So I wonder if this is as gunky as it is and as deteriorated as it is, because maybe somebody didn't put this stuff on it, maybe. So, I don't know. So anyway, when we get to that point, we'll see. I might do a little bit more research because I haven't seen anybody else use this. Any of the videos I've watched, I've seen people put the gasket on, but I haven't really seen them use that. So we'll see. So anyway, all right, on to cleaning this. Okay, so I went digging through my tools to see what I could find to clean that up with. I came up with a couple of things. I have this, flat razor blade. I want to be really careful. I don't want to score the metal on this. I don't want to go digging around with like a screwdriver or anything, because you want a good, nice seal. I mean, granted, you have the gasket for that, but I don't want to score that, and I definitely don't want to score that. So I found this too, just a plastic putty knife, and that might be enough to get it off, and it's soft enough that it's not going to score that metal up. And then, yeah, maybe if I can just see if I can just clean it up, because this whole thing's just really gross, really dirty. Maybe I'll use some brake parts cleaner or something to clean that metal up. That seems to be what people use a lot. They clean things with that. So we're gonna maybe give that a shot. All right, back in a minute. Okay, so I'm getting it clean. This razor blade is definitely the tool I'm using. That didn't do anything. It's so caked on there. You can see here, all that is just caked on, burnt on gasket. So yeah, not turning out to be quite as easy and clean as most of the videos that I've seen. Most of them just pop it off and they're like, oh look, there it is, and it's nice and clean and the gasket came off, it's no big deal. Mine's not that. So yeah, I'm using the razor blade. I've done some research and read a bunch of people talking about like using a metal putty knife that's sharpened. So basically one of those. Just be careful not to score the metal. You don't want to score it so you get leaks. One thing I did notice, I don't know if you can see this, right here, it's kind of a chunk out of the metal right there. It's almost like it's corroded. It doesn't look like it's actually come all the way into the edge right here. This channel, which I'm guessing that's a sensor right there. But yeah, that was kind of surprising. A little corroded chunk out of the housing right there. I suppose if worst comes to worst, that I could always just replace this housing, just get a new one if it starts like leaking or something like that. But it hasn't really been leaking so far. So I think if we put a good clean gasket on it, should be okay. I'm not real sure about that gasket sealer or that tube I showed you. I just haven't seen anybody else on these Jeeps use that. When I was doing some research just a minute ago about gaskets and cleaning things off, they talked about making sure you use the right gasket to put back on, and some of them have a physical gasket like the one I showed you that I've got. Some of them use a liquid gasket, which I think is that tube. So I don't know if you're supposed to use the gasket and that goop. I haven't seen anybody else do it. So I'm going to do some more research and we'll find out. Like I said, not a mechanic, but I am good at research. Okay, well, I'm going with that. So I've got as much off of that as I think I possibly can. Most of the rest of this is just stained. But I'm starting to score off some of the metal, and I don't want to do that. I want to be really careful. So as you can see, it's full of junk. It's all the junk I got off of it. I'm going to have to clean that out. I think maybe I'll flush it out with maybe just some of the coolant I pulled out. Just kind of rinse it with coolant, maybe. I mean, water would be fine too. So yeah. So the next part is going to be cleaning the surface of the engine where the actual thermostat is. That has me a little bit more worried, so I don't want to get gunk in the engine. So anyway, we're getting there.